and your pals are back with another installment. And George is tearing apart the office studio.
Almost died. What's
Well,
up,
welcome back, guys.
Yeah, welcome. Returning guests, returning pals. Thanks for sticking with us. Newcomers, welcome. I'm George Boutsalis.
And I'm Ricky Liordi.
This week, to kick off your Monday, we had Derek Piquette Jackson on the podcast. Derek is a world-renowned dancer, and he has been in World of Dance Season 3, Cirque Du Soliel, So You Think You Can Dance Season 12. He also stars in some Netflix projects, including Work It and Julie and the Phantoms. He took us through his early days, how he got into dance, and why he loves it so much, some cool stories. It was honestly a really, really enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, he's a young guy, but he's also faced some adversity with some injuries and, traveling on his own. But he's also seen a lot of the world and got to do some amazing things. So although he's still young and just kind of really starting his career, he's already accomplished so much. So Derek, thank you for coming on and for the great conversation. We'd like to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Cottage Springs. They make some of the greatest vodka waters, vodka sodas out there. Definitely check them out at your local LCBOs. 0 carbs, 0 grams of sugar. We've said it on this podcast numerous times. Some of the best drinks we've had. They just actually released a new raspberry lime vodka water and a new vodka lemonade. So check those out at your local LCBO or check them out online at Cottage Springs.
That vodka water, by the way, is in like a 4-liter box or something.
Yeah.
That thing looks like a good time.
Oh,
Can't wait to
definitely
bust that up
yeah.
for the cottage.
Oh, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to RFP Design, our good friends, and our pal Andrew Moretti. They were gracious enough to donate to provide us with this incredibly beautiful couch that has really made our studio space and our online video pop a lot more. They make custom furniture. They do custom beds, custom couches, custom chairs, custom dressers, anything you need for your house.
Custom.
That they can make it. Andrew is not. He is a serial entrepreneur and one who is not shy to take on any new task or project. Nothing's too big or too small. They got to be one of the fastest growing custom furniture manufacturers in Canada. Shout out to them. Shout out to the team over there for making this amazing couch. Shout out to Andrew. Go check them out, guys. www.rfpdesign.com and let them know the pal sent you. And I guess last but certainly not least, give a shout out to Cast, our baby and the newest and hottest social voting platform. Also no social media, but we're trying to get away from that because we're trying to be a little more objective. And what we're trying to do is be the objective assembly of public opinion. How we do so is we remove the friction of participation in online conversations by allowing people to be honest, authentic, unique, objective, and just downright curious. We eliminate the social pressures. We eliminate the influence. We eliminate all of those things that would skew someone's opinion in order to deliver fully objective and transparent results to our users and let them think for themselves. Because at the end of the day, everyone should think for themselves. I think that's about it. Go to joincast.co. to download now. We are in beta, but the app is still fully functional and is up and running. So get on there now to get your usernames and start casting today because it's about to blow up. My pal, LFG. Let's go. Let me just double check to make sure.
Yeah, this is Jordan's first time handling the tech side.
Nice.
We brought Jordan on a few months ago to help with like sponsorships, partnerships, getting guests, and she's been crushing it. Great. She's the one that got us some of our big partnerships, which are amazing. But she doesn't have the technical skill, which is everything George does.
Gotcha.
We're getting there.
Yeah, so we're getting her there. That's it.
Get in the hang of it. How's it sound, Jordan? You good? All right. Derek, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining us.
We've been trying to book this for a little while. Obviously, you were traveling, and I guess work's still busy for you, which has got to be good.
Yeah, it's nice that the film industry didn't slow down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been nice.
What projects were you working on?
I was out in Vancouver filming a new Apple Plus series called Schmigadoon, which is kind of a funny name, but it's a musical comedy. And then I got to come back home for a couple weeks, and then I flew back out to do a Netflix series called Scaredy Cats, which is like a children's show. And since then, I've just been back and working in Toronto.
Are all of you, when you do these shows series, are all of them in a dance role capacity? Do you do any like extra work? Do you do any actual acting? Like what is like what's your area of expertise, I guess, specifically?
Mostly dancing.
Right.
I have recently started singing, which is very interesting. But for the Apple TV show, we had to. So it was part of the audition, and that's what kind of threw me into it. I've been meaning to do it for years, but always been hesitant and nervous. So it kind of threw me right into it. And it's crazy how in just a matter of like a few sessions of training with someone vocally, how much your voice it changes. But I have a long way to go.
I should get Ricky some voice coach lessons.
I love singing, like absolutely love it. In the
I
shower,
don't know if
in the
I call
car,
it singing, but
loud talking with music in the background. Like I just
Something like that.
absolutely love it. But I am like just terrible. I've got heart, I've got passion, and I sing my little heart out. And I'm just terrible. I'm so bad that my mom says I'm bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, mine did too.
Well, okay, so I guess there's still hope.
Let's put that in context. Like if you're doing it on a series, it's probably not that bad.
I mean, we'll see.
My mom would be like, Ricky, don't even audition. Like it's not worth your time. Like don't even bother. And my mom supports everything I do. True.
Yeah, it's so weird because it's just a muscle that you have to start working.
Yeah, that's why I suck. I don't train it.
Exactly.
But that's what I want to ask too. Like when you're like, it's a muscle you have to train. So like, even though everybody in theory can sing, anybody who can talk can in theory sing, to really become like hit those notes and all that stuff. I guess, is it like different like vocal work, or you have to like do something with the muscle to hit those notes?
Yeah, it's a bunch of vocal work, warming up, training the muscles to do what you want them to do, and over time they get stronger. And I mean, obviously if you're born with some natural talent, that's going to help you, but I think everyone can sing. How good or like have a career in it, that's different, but I think everyone can be a good singer.
Fair. Is it safe to say dancing's your number one bread and butter? Yeah. That's what you love the most. But between acting and singing, what do you like better?
Singing. I don't really like acting.
Which one are you better at?
Singing.
Okay.
Probably.
Do you, when you first stepped into this like recently, I guess like anything new, probably a little nervous, but with your, you've been on stage probably more times than you can count.
Yeah.
Do you find that helps a bit, or were you still super nervous the first time you went out, or not, whether it's in front of camera, whatever, to sing?
Yeah. My first lesson was on Zoom in the comfort of my own home, which was definitely helped a lot because obviously going somewhere, like you start giving yourself anxiety on the drive over and all that kind of stuff. So that was nice, and it's definitely eased me into it a bit more. My first audition, I don't know, there was something about it. It's like I knew I was so bad in the beginning that like I didn't really care. And I was just like, well, let's just see where this goes, because it was part of my audition. And I ended up booking it and being like, well, they clearly didn't watch my singing tape because I'm with a bunch of Broadway stars, which is just wild. And obviously my dancing got me here. So yeah, I don't think I was very nervous, but yeah, maybe it's because I'm used to being on stage and performing in front of an audience.
Yeah, fair. Me and Georgie had our kind of acting debuts. Our commercial.
I actually did before that. I actually did a.
Oh yeah, you did a real commercial. Oh, yeah.
Listen, actually, you know what? This reminded me. Let's take it back a step. This actually just segued perfectly, because off camera we were talking about how you worked with the director of High School Musical.
Yeah.
Now I didn't do that, but I did star in a production of the High School Musical.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
Have I ever said this before?
No. I thought you were going to talk about Bud Light.
No. Before that, I've acted. I've actually been on stage, and it was actually at my sister's. I told you before this as well. My sister grew up as a dancer at Chicopee. When she did her final, last year of high school, end of the year performance, the theme was High School Musical.
Okay.
And they needed extras. So I played the role of Chad. Who's the black guy? Chad? In the movie with the curly hair.
Corbin Bleu?
Maybe. Yeah, that's who I played. I believe.
You played black.
I played the character. I guess I was an extra kind of thing. So they hired actors to play the big roles.
They hired actors and
then they asked me to play, and I was sick. That's my first acting. My first experience at acting.
And then second was the Bud Light commercial.
And then I did Bud Light, which was pretty
crazy.
sick.
Super Bowl commercial.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. That was insane. Just lucky. Yeah, really lucky. Chad. Yeah, that's what I played. Chad. I don't know how we got on this stuff. But segue from acting. Yeah. So that was my first foray into acting. Then the commercial was easy.
Easy.
No, it's terrifying. Honestly, it is terrifying.
That's what you did. Yeah. The hand up, thumb up.
I ended up winning this Bud Light Living thing, and I was on stage with these DJs at Digital Dreams in 2016, and then they did like they had a bunch of different prizes for different people, and then they picked some of the winners that they thought were really like I guess personable,
Right.
And they said, hey, we're shooting a Super Bowl spot, do you want to be in it? I was like, okay, cool. I just thought I was gonna stand around.
Yeah.
So I actually had lines in it, like it was me and three other winners, 2 guys and a girl, and they're like, yeah, you have these lines, you got to rehearse, you got to do this. And I was like, oh, what the hell? So I did it. And I was like, okay, it's going to play like in like the first thing. It played literally before Katy Perry's halftime performance. And I'm standing there watching this. It's like my phone just starts exploding.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's the most watched of all time, too.
Well, it was because Bud Light tagged you in the video.
I don't know how it worked, but my phone died.
That's
it was
insane.
Yeah. But this episode is not about me. We're talking about my acting because that was a one and done, 15 minutes of fame.
We'll talk about just working with musicians and everything. You worked with Alicia Keys. Who was the other one I saw? Alicia Keys, Jennifer Lopez. Well, Jennifer Lopez is more of the show, but
Yeah.
what's it like working with them? They're 2 of the greatest female performers, singers of all time.
Yeah, I didn't work one-on-one with Alicia Keys. Actually, she produced the movie
Okay.
I was in. She was on set that day, but it was more like we came in, did our thing. That one was a strange hire. I got a thing from my agent asking if I could choreograph for this new Netflix film, and I was like, of course. I was in South Africa at the time and was supposed to be there for 3 more weeks and cut my trip short. So I flew all the way to South Africa from, I think I was in Italy, and spent 4 days there and flew home to do this. And it was definitely worth it.
Wait, so they just called you saying, hey, we need you tomorrow.
It wasn't like that quick, but it was like I definitely had to rearrange everything. It was definitely worth it. But yeah, working on that was so much fun, and I got to work with my friend Alexis Schabel, and it was a really cool experience to choreograph in my first film. And then working with Jennifer Lopez, I competed on her series, World of Dance, back 3 years ago, I don't know. It aired 2 years ago, like now. But I worked with her on that, and then after that, a girl on our season named Briar Nolay made it really far, which is one of me and my husband's closest friends, and she got the opportunity to open for J-Lo on tour for the It's My Party tour. And she asked if me and Mitchell would choreograph her solos to open the show. So we got to work on 3 solos throughout the show, or 1 for a pre-show, 1 to open the show, and then 1 during the show, which was really crazy because I've never worked on that scale of a project of like live performing, especially with an artist. I don't work with many artists. So that was really a really crazy experience.
Did you get nervous when you're choreographing something?
That's a similar thing.
Yeah, like because again, J-Lo's J-Lo. Like it's freaking J-Lo.
Not just that, it's also live television production.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like
big
massive,
deal.
right?
Yeah. For World of Dance, I put a lot of pressure on myself because that was me performing and it was me and my partner's choreography. And there was a long lead up to that, and it's just such a big platform, and yeah, millions are watching. Whereas for the tour, my partner did most of the choreography, and I was actually in New Zealand, I believe at the time, touring with Cirque, and I was getting videos back and forth of her on stage rehearsing and figuring out staging, and I would be like in the middle of a show, like screenshotting, be like, change this part to that part, and move to that part of the stage, change this part, and I would send videos of myself like in costume. It was so funny, of like what I thought should be changed. So I was kind of the not final say person, but I got to kind of change things, critique, and like build it to the final product. Where yeah, my partner did most of the legwork for that one, which took the pressure off a bit.
Nice. So when you're doing something like this, I mean, obviously growing up a dancer your entire life, like I'm assuming comes second nature to you. But does it become a little different on the choreography side? Like, is that like, I guess what I'm asking is, are you like naturally more comfortable, like just obviously being on stage, or when you go to the choreographers, like, are you someone who can visualize very well? Like, what is your, I guess, skill set in that regard?
Yeah, it definitely is a different skill set, but I've been choreographing since I was 16, and it's something I love so much, and that's where I want to end up. I perform now because it's what I enjoy, and it's what's going to get me to the further kind of place of choreographing TV and film, directing. That's kind of where I want to end. But I love performing, and I love being on the dancer side and learning so much from like the greats of the industry. And yeah, I think it is difficult, especially when I'm still pretty young and I can be in a lot of projects that I do, but taking that step back to be on the other side is like really enjoyable.
So right now, performing is more of your passion, and then you hope that down the road, producing, directing.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's the average lifespan of a dancer?
It depends.
Not lifespan, sorry.
Yeah.
Career span.
Career
Yeah, sorry.
span, yeah.
Yeah,
Darn.
sorry. You guys both got what I was saying. Right?
Yeah.
Lifespan.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know what we know what you
Career
mean.
No, I got it.
Long day.
Yeah, very.
It depends really. It depends what you're doing, and it depends on how well you take care of your body. I would say like if like you can be on Broadway until you're like 50 or 60 if that's what you've done your whole life, because it's not. I don't want to say it's not taxing on your body, but it's less depending on what show you're in and how heavy the dance track is in the show. But I would say average people are really starting to stop perform in their late 30s to 40s. And that's when you either change to choreography or directing or producing, or you go into teaching.
Okay. And something like a musical on Broadway would be a lot less taxing than something like Cirque du Soleil. That's probably the peak of physical performance.
Probably, yeah.
I just don't know anything about dancing.
No.
I dated a dancer actually in high school, Andrea Lucchesi. Do you know her at all?
No.
She was good.
I
How
know
many
the last
dancers
name.
there are in the world?
I know, but she's from. Are you? No, you're not from here, are you?
I'm not from here, but
That's
I live
not
here
from-
now.
Okay, so she doesn't dance anymore, unfortunately. George's girlfriend was a dance. Is
Still? Yeah. Rebecca Sneath.
Okay. Oh my gosh, she went to Vlad's. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was.
Wow, look
we
at
mentioned- Yeah, she asked who was coming to the episode. I mentioned that you mentioned you guys like know each other of each
Yeah.
other.
Shout out Bax.
Shout out to Bex. Yeah, and obviously like to her circles, I guess you guys kind of know each other, and then you maybe were around the same age. I'm not sure, but my sister, obviously Sean Boutillier, she danced with Scott McCabe.
Okay.
Who
Yeah.
went to like, I mean, maybe we're a little bit older. I'm not sure. He went to like Juilliard, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do remember, speaking of Vlad's, the one thing I remember is when my sister was like coming up and like dance. She stopped kind of after high school, didn't pursue it further. But I remember the name Vlad's because I remember when my sister was like coming near the end, they had the biggest like cohort of guys dancing.
Yeah.
Like the biggest studio. And I went to one of her competitions once, and these guys were insane. Like I was watching this and like, man, this is like, I didn't even understand it before, because every time I've seen my sister dance, it's all like mostly in her school was a lot of like women dance, or girls, I guess, at the time. And I remember seeing Vlad's. I'm like, this is the best school I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That's how I knew about Vlad's, and it's all about pretty much all I know about them. But
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible studio. He's an incredible teacher and choreographer. He's the reason I'm actually in Toronto.
really,
Look at that.
He hired me to do a show when I was 17, and that's the night I met my husband.
come
Wow.
on.
Yeah.
Vlad
That's
is not only a dance teacher, but he's also a matchmaker.
That is serendipitous.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So okay, so he hired you to come up for this show, and then you like came up, danced it or choreographed?
Danced in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just happened.
My opposing lead in the show was Mitchell's best friend. And so after
okay.
the show, we met.
Wow.
And then
Look at that.
the rest is history.
As they say.
I
Wow.
love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Random note, actually, do you know Tori Mahaffey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world.
Mitchell's actually like semi cousins with her.
So that's my ex-girlfriend's sister.
Okay.
And I know she's big.
What the hell is
Well, I know
going on
she's
here?
big in the dance
Yeah,
community,
she's
and
incredible.
I would see her dancing, and again, I don't mean to sound ignorant, but I know nothing about dancing, like absolutely
You
nothing.
honestly couldn't even dance if you tried.
Yeah,
you were
no, I'm
pretty. You're
terrible.
pretty two left feet.
you put a couple drinks in me, and I
No,
can move a
everyone
little.
can dance too.
But yeah, so she.
Bad. You
So-
honestly, you'd probably be all right.
I'd be all right. So, I watched some of her dancing, and she's very contemporary style.
Yeah.
Right? Which again, to me, I don't understand.
Do you know that because she told you that, or
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was gonna say I thought you like
No, I don't know what contemporary. Like, if you dance, if I don't understand it, I'm like, oh, that's contemporary. It makes sense. It's like they're moving and
It's
like.
like slower.
Yeah, yeah.
Story based.
So I'm like, so I would see her,
lyrical.
yeah.
and it was crazy. So and apparently she's super good. She still
she's
does
incredible.
it. Yeah. So my ex girlfriend is her sister. Small world.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mitchell's cousin. Like, that's so random.
That is pretty random.
I'm gonna message her after this small world, but
That's crazy.
anyways, back
Enough
on
about our stories.
Yeah,
Yes.
6 degrees of separation here. To
It's like
Right.
2 degrees of separation.
You're
Yeah.
gonna say the same thing. Well, tell us. So, you met your husband when you were 17, dancing. Did you guys always dance together, or is he not a dancer?
He is a dancer. He has definitely moved on to the choreography directing role. He's 30, and to him, he thinks that's old as a dancer.
I guess we're 30.
Yeah.
No, as a dancer.
I get it.
No,
I
of
get it.
course.
And I mean, he started dancing really late too. So played a lot of catch up and then did a lot in his career. And then now has just moved on. I think choreography and directing is really what he loves to do. He likes to be in control. He doesn't really like people telling him what to do.
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, that's kind of the role he's taken on.
Very cool. Now, like with your career progression, obviously you started from a very young age. To go back a little bit, you originally started as ballet. Is that
I originally started with everything, kind of mostly acrobatics and jazz, contemporary, that kind of stuff, in a really small town in Massachusetts. And then I progressed really quickly because I just loved it. Like, I became weirdly obsessed with it. And I always say, like, if you want to be good at anything, become obsessed with it. And by the time I was 15 or 16, I moved to Miami by myself, and I was living with 2 studio owners, and I was training about 10 hours every day. And then that
At 15, 16.
Yeah, until I was 18.
Jeez. So you knew right away, like, that's what you want to do your entire life.
Yeah. I dropped out of high school, and everyone, I remember at the time when I think I was 15, all my teachers at school, I was supposed to do homeschooling, didn't work. All my teachers were like, what's your plan B? Like, what are you going to do? And I being a snotty little 15-year-old, I was like, if I have a plan B in my head, plan A isn't going to work. So
I respect the crap out of that because, if you have a fallback, you're not fully committed. You have a safety net.
Yeah. And that's just how I've always kind of gone with it. And I mean, I'm so lucky to have the career I have and have done what I've done at such a young age. But yeah, I think it just comes from like setting your mind to something.
Was there a point ever when you hit, then you're like, any adversity or uncertainty where you're like, it was you're hitting a crossroads, let's say, in your career, and you thought, maybe now I wish I had a safety net? And if that did happen, how did you kind of push past
there's been a couple.
Okay.
I got really burnt out after training like 60 hours a week in Miami for those years. And then pretty much right from that, I went on So You Think You Can Dance as an 18-year-old. And that's a journey of its own. And it's so taxing on your mind and body. And then right after that, we went on a 70-city tour.
70?
Yeah, across North America. And it was so much. It was so much. And we would only be in a city for like a day, if that. Tour buses are flying at night and 3 meet and greets a day. It was a lot. And so right after that, I took a huge step back and really focused in teaching and choreographing and didn't perform for like almost 2 years. So that was really interesting. And then it almost made me miss it so much that when I did get back into it, I appreciated it so much more. So I think taking that step back really helped, because if not, I don't think that I'd be performing still, which is kind of crazy to think about. And then I actually, last year, this time, had my second hip surgery. And I've undergone 2. I'm supposed to do 5 in total. Wow. And just from like overtraining, overuse, and incorrect training from when I lived in Miami, that has like created health problems with being able to walk, sit. Like, that's where I was having issues. It wasn't necessarily when I was dancing. So going through that and that recovery process, maybe it would have been great to have a fallback during that, but I think I was in a really good place in my career that I do have teaching and choreography to fall back on, as well as like a business I own. So there was lots to do still, but maybe it's funny. I think back to it now, like I wish I finished high school for sure. But I don't regret anything.
Yeah, like if you did pursue it, you don't end up where you
Yeah.
are, right? Because everything kind of led you
Exactly.
to this point.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's honestly really cool. That's kind of a daunting thing to think about. Like at that age, like I mean, Ricky and I in our kind of entrepreneurial side of things have done similar things that kind of leapt into kind of the unknown, I guess, space that we're in. Never been in that circumstance. Like the closest thing I can relate to is like I know that my dad always tells me, whenever I tell him I did something great, he's like, yeah, at 17, I moved to a country, didn't know anybody and stuff like that. So, and honestly, I could never picture that. But even like to hear your story of like just like saying, screw it, I'm going to do this. Like,
yeah.
Pretty commendable, pretty crazy. But honestly, I mean, it clearly worked out. So very cool.
I want to focus in on these hip surgeries. So you're not old at all. You're probably younger than we are. I'm almost certain of that. And you've had 2 out of 5 hip surgeries.
Yeah.
So are they major surgeries, minor? Because you're obviously in good shape and your body is your tool almost for let's say half of your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like tell us all about it. Actually,
Yeah.
my mom just had double hip surgery.
Oh, wow.
And she's also like 60, not
Right.
like 60. She is 60. Shout
Right.
out, mom. But you don't hear hip surgeries in young people.
Yeah, no. I'm 24.
So you're definitely much younger than us.
So it all started like kind of when I was 16, 17, training as much as I was. And I started getting pain when I was laying in bed or walking down the street or just like sitting parallel instead of being like kind of open with my knees and hips. And it got to the point where I had to see a doctor, and they basically told me at the age of 18, like, you need both your hips completely replaced. And I did not like that answer. So I ignored them.
Classic.
And went through the pain and dealt with it for several years, and then kind of took those 2 years off. So it wasn't really bothering me too much. And then I started touring with Cirque again, or for the first time. And the pain really started to come back. And I mean, doing anywhere from 10 to 12 shows a week, obviously that's going to happen. So they hooked me up with some of the best surgeons and medical people all over the world, which was pretty incredible. And I got to meet with a bunch of people, and the answer I was getting was just that both my hips needed to be replaced. That's all anyone kept telling me. And I was like, I'm 21. That means I'd need one at 21, 41, 61, 81, like redoing them over and over again.
Oh, so I have to redo it every 20 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
That's why they usually try and get you to hold off as long as you can, so you don't need them as much.
Yeah. And then I finally came across the surgeon in London. I flew from Spain to London to meet with him, and he was working with another Cirque artist at the time. And he does a surgery called PAO. Don't ask me what that stands for. It's like very long
medical terms,
osteotomy of some sort, bone surgery. And he said, I want to preserve your hips rather than replace them. And the way he was and the way he like talked to me so calmly and like most doctors were so blunt and like trying to almost scare me into surgery, which was so strange. And I finally came across this like incredible surgeon who is like leading in the hip industry for like new surgeries, and he's always it's crazy what this man does. His name is Professor Damian Griffin. And I decided pretty much that night that I was going to go forward with him. So my first surgery was just a hypothroscopy, which is they went in, reattached my labrum, cleared out some cysts that were in there, and then resurfaced some cartilage. And the recovery, a lot of dancers have issues with that. So that was a pretty generic surgery, nothing too big with that. And it was supposed to be anywhere from a 4 to 6 month recovery. After 4 months, I went into surgery 2 on the same hip because they had to basically cut through my pelvic bone.
Sorry, is this after the 2-year hiatus from performing?
Yeah, this was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And after I think 3 or 4 months, I went back to London, and he cut through my pelvic bone, rotated my whole hip joint, so that my like socket fit over my ball more of my hip. Because basically I had pushed my hip and socket so far and I was like rubbing against the side of the bone basically I was like chipping away at the bone. on top of all like the ligament and tendon issues. So he basically reorientated my hip, put 3 screws in it, and it was supposed to be a 6 to 18 month recovery.
It's a big gap.
Especially at 24
yeah.
or 22, 23.
Yeah. And in 4.5 months, I was medically cleared because of how crazy I went with physiotherapy.
Holy shit.
That's insane.
Yeah, they're doing studies, like my surgeon and my physiotherapist, on how and why I recovered that fast, because this is a generally new surgery, the PAO, especially in North America. Like you're just starting to find surgeons that are willing to do it because it's quite dangerous and it's so new to the medical world. Maybe not now, but then it was. And so yeah, they were completely blown away by how fast I was cleared. And then I think 2 months after that, I booked that Vancouver Apple TV show and was fully back dancing.
It's got to be a bittersweet moment too, right? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm fully healed, even though you're only 22, 23 at the time. You know, you've just gone through a bunch of hip surgeries, but you're back on your feet. You're back at the top. Like, it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. It was crazy. It was such a crazy experience. I mean, to relearn how to walk and to like the luxury of like going to the bathroom by yourself. Like, it's so wild to... Yeah. As like silly as that sounds, it's like I've always been such a physically strong person. To not be able to like sit up without passing out was pretty humbling.
For sure. Did it you said relearning how to walk, did it alter how you approach dance? Did it change your form? Are you like limited in what you can do, or are you back to like fully to your same capabilities you were before?
Not same capabilities as before, but pretty much. Because of the way my hip is orientated now, my left leg doesn't go as far. But I mean, I'm still more flexible than like 90% of male dancers, but it definitely is more restricted.
And do you have to be a little more cautious now going forward and like continue to do physio for the rest of your career? Or at a certain point, are they, like you said, you're cleared, do they say then like, okay, you're good now, your hip's kind of healing itself, or how does that happen? Right now it's like maintenance to keep it up and like keep it in the proper shape it needs to be. And I have reservations with some stuff. I remember being on the show in Vancouver, and the choreographer asked like, can anyone do this? And I raised my hand. I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. And then I thought back to myself within 5 minutes, wait, that's going to be on a 16-hour shoot day, and I'm going to have to do it probably 20 times in a row. Like, my body's not going to handle that really well. So I had to go over to him and be like, I don't know why I just said I could do that. Like, and
he check yourself.
Yeah. I was like, I just like, obviously like 6 months ago, if you asked me, I would have been completely fine. But now that I've had this, and he was like, oh my gosh, don't worry. Like, he was the best choreographer I've ever worked for. So it is like, it's weird that I have to like take a step back and be like, wait, what is worth it? And like, what's worth putting my body through? Do you think that's where you are now in your career as well, from like a mental state? Because, you know, you're still young, but you've been doing this for so long. I mean, I'm guessing you probably like in like dance years, you're like a veteran in the industry, I guess, if that's fair to assume. Do you think now, because you're like a bit more experienced and your health, I guess, becomes more a priority, you went back to him and said, hey, you know, I need to take a step back? If you were younger, would you have taken the same approach, or were you just like jumping at every opportunity back then? I think if I was younger, it'd be different. I think I would have jumped at it no problem and just done it, even 6 months prior. Wow. Whereas like, yeah, now my body's first, and saving your body as a dancer is like number one. And people always say that, but no one actually implements that. Even choreographers, it's strange. Whereas like this choreographer in particular was like, I'm so happy you told me that, and so happy you're not gonna put your body through that. Like, thank you, because I would hate to see like something bad happen.
I wish people told me that. Like
told you that or what?
Like, I should take better care of my body in terms of strength. I guess people do tell you, but like really put more emphasis.
Yeah,
on it.
absolutely.
So I was a goalie growing up in hockey. I'm 30. Like I'm in relatively good shape, and my knees are a disaster.
Really?
Like absolute disaster. My ankles hurt. My knees are just mangled, and it's my own fault because I'm like, oh, like, in my head, I'm still 25,
right,
and I'm still in the best shape of my life, and I can just ski for 8 hours in a day, no problem, and no stretch, no warm up, no cool down. Let's just go. Let's rock and roll. But nope. And we've told this on the
I was just going to say the biggest mistake
we
you made.
ran a marathon. And I didn't train for it. But I'm in my head, I'm like, I'm mentally tough. And I'm in mediocre shape.
Rick's the kind of friend that if you like... So to be clear, I was going to run a marathon. It got canceled because of COVID. And then I was like, I still feel my obligation to run it. Rick's like, okay, you need support, I'll come run it with you. Rick's that kind of friend. Like anything that seems fun,
I'm a good
hard, he'll just throw... He'll be like, yeah, what's the worst that happens? Now you can get...
Well, what's the worst that happens? I got bum ass knees now. But
barely walk up the stairs.
yeah, no, honestly, like I move like an old person.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But it's also funny because I'm the type where it hurts. I'm in discomfort, but I'll still work out every day.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's who I am. And until I literally physically can't do it, I'm going to do it.
Maybe see a physio or a doctor.
Well, no, I got my x-rays. I've got my x-rays
before that
booked.
happens.
Actually, my doctor was good. Similar to what you said. When I called my doctor, I was like, hey, I need an MRI. And he goes, look, I'm not going to book you an MRI because if you have even the slightest tear, they're going to say surgery instantly.
Right.
That's their first inclination. Well, he's like, go get an x-ray, go get an ultrasound, and then maybe we can try and work around it with physio, you know, and play with it. Because again, nobody wants to do surgery.
No.
I was supposed to have surgery on my right shoulder 3 years ago now, and I said, I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to play baseball for the rest of my life.
Right.
Give up a sport that I like. I don't love it. I can do without it.
Right.
For the sake of not having surgery. And that's it. But yeah, I'm 30 years old and literally falling apart. It's terrible.
This is why I don't work out. Keep me healthy.
That's it.
No, it's true, right? A lot of like, the part of it, there could be a multitude of reasons, right? And I'm not going to make assumptions on people, but it could be obviously, naturally you think like, lift weights to get in shape or just run to get in shape. There's all those like traditional ways. People, I guess don't put as much emphasis on like types like stretching, physiotherapy, all of those sort of things, right? Because it's
the recovery,
like the recovery aspect of it. And I even see like online, there's like whether you see fitness influencers, whether it's on YouTube, whatever. Like a lot of them now start preaching the importance of stretching rather than lifting heavy weights and that sort of stuff. And I don't want to assume a lot of it is ego per se, but a lot of it's when you're growing up, when you're younger, it's maybe even in the dance world, this is I'm not making any assumptions, but you want to be the best at something, or you want to look the best or feel the best, like you're going to push yourself, and then the recovery is not a priority. You're young and resilient.
Yeah,
you're invincible.
And then
everyone thinks they are.
18 years old, he doesn't need hip surgery. What are you
I was like,
talking about?
I'm fine. I can push through.
Just feel like crying every time, like you're dancing, all the pain and everything.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Do you know the meme with the little kid where it's like, do you miss your mommy? No.
Oh yeah.
He starts crying.
And he's so bawling. That's literally one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, that was me at the time.
Well, you also said though that you had 2 of 5. Like you need to get, so you do need to get 3 more, even despite the ones you've had that have gone successfully.
Yeah, so I did 2 on the left, and basically we'll have to do 2 on the right. I'm postponing those. Those were pretty much supposed to happen right away, but I flew home March 11th of last year after recovering for 7 weeks over there, and came home 2 days before the pandemic like really got serious. And I was planning to do my next 2 surgeries in the fall, like last fall. And I feel great right now. My right hip isn't bothering me as much because, one, I'm not dancing as much. Like I'm not doing a heavy show right now. And I am taking care of my body. And my left hip is so restricted that my right can't go as far as it used to. So right now it's okay. I know it won't be like that forever. So I've basically got given the okay that it's like I can do it as long as I can tolerate the pain. I'm not going to do too much damage. And if I do start to, like, I'll really notice pain level wise. So right now I'm just postponing the next 2 on my right hip until it's really necessary. Or I have like a big 6 to 8 month period off, which hopefully is never. But yeah, it's just, and then the last surgery is taking all the hardware out because now that my bones grew back together, they can take them out. It's just, I don't want to go through 6 surgeries. I'd rather just in the last surgery take them all out.
All at once. That's fair.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to transition off the surgeries more to Cirque du Soleil.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be the kind of pinnacle of dancing world, or is it more touring with musicians? What is the pinnacle of dancing?
It's so hard.
Like it's the Olympics or the NHL or the major leagues of dancing.
There isn't. There really isn't. I think
all, like,
that's
relative, I guess, to everybody, right?
It's all relative. Like some people could say dancing for Beyonce, but for me that'll never be an option. So I won't like that's not something I would ever strive for even though she's like the queen of everything. Like I'm obsessed with her. It's just not something that I even see myself doing.
Just not your style, or
it's not even that it's not my style. It's just even demographic of the dancers she's hired in the past and my style of dance, like that isn't my style of expertise. So that's just not even something I really would audition for. But a lot of people that would be like number one, or competing on a TV show, which I don't think should be anyone's highest mark, but like stuff like that. Yeah, like dance for an artist, Cirque Du Soleil. A lot of dancers think that's really great, and a lot of dancers are like, I don't want to be with a circus.
It's not really a circus. Like it's Cirque du Soleil.
Right.
Like,
but people don't really see that as dancers. Like
Really?
dancers are a little bit iffy with that. Because a lot of times like
highbrow kind of thing towards
yeah,
it.
because I think because it is so circus based, and some people haven't seen a Cirque show, which like I don't know how you live on planet Earth and haven't seen a Cirque show, but it's I don't know. They're like think dancing in those shows would be kind of silly, and I'm like I got to play a main character in a show, and it was on stage for 2.5 hours, and it was
Wow.
the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but like the most rewarding as well.
Is it the hardest in terms of the difficulty of the dancing aspect, or the choreography and how many places you have to go to, and like what makes it so difficult being the lead? Or a lead, I guess.
Yeah, so I think what made it most difficult wasn't the dancing. It was you basically have to tell a story for 2.5 hours, stay in character, and never speak.
that's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, so I had one vocal cue, and it was to laugh evilly, like have a big evil.
Why were you a
laugh.
bad guy? You were the villain.
I like play with duality of like good and evil and male and female, and it's a very the character's called the Trickster, and he leads the innocent, which is the character's name, through the journey of life, basically, to open his eyes to the world of color. The whole show starts in black and white, and then very Wizard of Oz-y. I like bring him into the magical world of Kuza, which is what's the show is called, and kind of show him experience of like young love, old love, the underworld somehow we get into, and then like it kind of
the evil laugh.
yeah it comes all over, and I have magical powers, and it was really cool to get all that in there. But mentally I think was the hardest in the acting, and staying in a character that can be sometimes dark for 2.5 hours in a night, and sometimes twice a day, or more than that if I have interviews or something before that. So it I think mentally was the hardest, and then physically the show wasn't really choreographed per se for my part. It was, I choreographed a track for myself that I kind of used inspiration from old tricksters. My staging had to be the same. Somewhat the same. And then my acting moments with my characters had to be the same. But everything else I could freestyle every night if I wanted. So if I was feeling tired, or if I was sore or something, there was definitely nights I did an easier track, which still was very hard, because if not, I got bored. So it was just, I mentally more than anything was really difficult.
I got 2 questions.
I have
First,
2 questions. Damn you.
okay, we'll do one.
One and one.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I think to teleport.
Teleport?
Yeah. I would just, you ask me,
Yeah.
I would probably say the same thing.
Teleport.
Same on flights.
I want to travel so bad right now.
Yeah. That's actually one thing we got to get into after, because I'm sure you've been everywhere. The question I wanted to ask is, it's not really a question. It's more so Go ahead,
Georgie.
The one that that you said you could improvise a little bit. I find that so fascinating with dance, is that like, I guess to your point, like if you aren't feeling it, you can improvise. Nobody will know the difference unless they've seen both and memorized everything about it. But that's so interesting as well, that you could just like on the spot more or less make something up, and it is not just like passable. It's like it just looks like it's part of the show.
Right.
And I always found that very interesting with dance. Is like most other things, you can't just like, you know, in sports, per se, you can't script the play, or when you're acting, you can't just change it every night like a Broadway, you know, I guess a Broadway performance. That's so fascinating about dance. And I guess what my question on that is like, was there ever a point when you were like, when you kind of lose rhythm or lose what you're doing, or does it just go like it just?
Yeah,
it
I mean,
happens?
there was nights that we would do silly things as well, and I mean, we like if we were, I don't know, if I could tell my partner was down for say the night or wasn't feeling the best, like you try and make them laugh on stage, and like those moments keep it really, really fun and interesting, and can screw you up. Like there's many times where he could tell I was having an off day and he would fall flat on his face to try and make me laugh and break character. So those were kind of the oh fuck moments. Yeah. It was like doing it on purpose though, obviously with never trying to hinder the show, but keeping it fresh for us. I don't think, oh, you know what? There was a few oh fuck moments. So it was a technical issue. So in the beginning of the show, I come out in a red box that's wrapped in like a package, and basically, I don't know if you've ever seen it. For us, it was called. Oh, sorry. For
Good
us,
job, Jay.
Yeah. For us, it was called the box launch, and basically, I shot like a story into the air off the stage, costume changed, and literally shot, I would say, at least 10 feet in the air, and then had to land in front of the box. So there's so many technical things in the first 5 minutes of the show that could go wrong, and sometimes they all went wrong. And when you have a spring-loaded machine that's launching you into the air, that's like not something to really play around with, or like not like you could get. There have been very bad incidences with it. And there was one night where there's like all these safety protocols and whatnot, and there was a malfunction. Whatever, there was a malfunction with the box. Launched me too early. I fell. This is the opening of the show too, right? So it was pretty embarrassing. And I literally fall on to my hands and feet like in a push-up, and then there's like this huge accent in the music that they're supposed to wait for me because it's a live band, but they didn't notice, I guess, maybe, that I was on the floor, and yeah, so that accent went off, and I was like, it's supposed to be like the fiercest, like most insane moment of the show, and I'm just on the floor like, well, this is freaking awkward. And I was so flustered that right after that, there's an appearing wand that comes from thin air. And it's spring loaded, and I'm not joking. Like, I mean, it's gross. My hands are like sweaty at all times. Hypohidrosis, it's disgusting. But it's like kind of a metallic-y, like slippery mechanic thing. And it, like I said, spring loaded. I'm supposed to throw it and catch it, but I threw it and it went into the audience. So then so now have I fallen on my face? I now have shot the wand into the audience and have to go down into the audience to get it. So now I'm already like put the show 5 minutes behind, which is a lot. And then luckily the rest of the show went on, but I got off stage, and there's a moment after that opening sequence where I do get to go off stage for like 5 minutes, and when I tell you I bit a few people's head off, I definitely did. Because all in all, it's really funny to look back at now and like laugh about it, but in the moment it was quite dangerous. But yeah, I apologized for ripping people's heads off.
No, but the thing is too, that actually kind of leads to my second question of like how, like on the choreography side of a Cirque Du Soleil show, like, so I've seen one, I think for the first time I went in Vegas.
That was my second question.
Yeah, in Vegas in 2018. I saw, I think, at the Bellagio.
Yeah.
And
Which one's O?
With the water.
Yeah.
The water, okay.
Craziest thing I've ever seen. I was watching, so I was like,
that show's magical.
Yeah, it was when the Raptors were playing in the playoffs. I knew they were playing, and I left like 2 minutes before the show ended. But I'm watching this show, like, I was so mesmerized. But then the first thought in my head is like, how on earth is this all choreographed? Like, is it done by one person per section? Is it one person? Like, is there a master choreographer that brings it all together? That's what I wanted to ask more about. But then I guess the second follow-up to that is like, when something does go wrong like that, do they put checks in place where, like, you know, you said you went off stage for 5 minutes? Is that planned to, like, if something goes wrong, there's little almost like gaps? Or
I don't know if those are really choreographed in the show for that. In the instance that something does go seriously wrong, we have show stops and we stop the whole show, and it can be quite awkward. There was one time, for instance, that it was really difficult, and actually has been difficult for me to talk about before, but now I think I'm fine.
Has his eyes water up. I'm fine. The little kid.
Yeah.
I don't miss my mom. What are you talking about?
Basically, my job, if something bad was to happen and it wasn't to me, my job was to distract the audience, which when you see one of your closest friends come to like a near-death experience, it's really hard to keep a smile on your face. And there was one time where there's a part in the show where it's like a giant teeterboard or like a seesaw, and he comes out on stilts that are steel, that 20 pounds each, walks out on stilts and then goes on the seesaw and then does a double backflip and lands back on the stilts. And he landed over rotated and landed basically on his upper back and neck and didn't really move for a few seconds. And in that instance, you shouldn't move. You need to make sure, like, and no one can touch you because, God forbid, you broke your spine or something, and it could be worse. So I literally saw that happen. I'm not even from me to you, and that happened right next to me. Yeah, 6 feet. And I instantly burst, like, just tears are going down my face, but I have the biggest smile on my face because I'm trying to distract an audience of 2,500 people to not look at what just happened. And then all of a sudden, all the lights came on and we had a full show stop. And I mean, that was insane. But that's just like an instance of what can happen in a show. I would say out of 10 shows in a week, there's probably 5 mistakes that are like injury based.
How many of them are show stops out of like 100?
I only had 2 show stops.
Oh, okay, so it's not common.
In 215 shows.
Oh yeah,
holy shit!
1% of shows.
Yeah.
Still.
So that's scary though.
And then that is crazy, and I can't even imagine. That's like, it's gotta like, yeah, seen that, because like a lot of these things, like, that's the thing with Cirque, like they're so over the top. You're flying so high in the air. I watch people, I'm like,
going so fast.
How is this even possible? Like, people just flying on trapeze and like the springboards too. You see, you know, 2 guys jumping up and down, just like doing backflips and somersaults, landing in the same spot. But I guess that also ties into the question I asked earlier, like who choreographs these things? How are they?
Bro, you're at like 4 questions now.
I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, I got mine too.
I mean, it's every show's different. There's, I think, at the time before COVID, there was 30 shows touring or in Vegas or in a residency, and there's one in Germany, one in Mexico. And every show creation is different. You're basically assigned an artistic director and an assistant to every show, but they're not the ones that created the show usually. And their job is basically to maintain the show and make sure, integrate new artists and deal with artists on like a public relations basis. I mean, I've never been a part of a show creation, but from what I've heard and creating new acts, it's the artists more than anything coming up. They come to Cirque with an act, or they build it with a choreographer if they need one. That's just hired, but I don't know to my knowledge that like one choreographer has done an entire show.
Okay.
It's like the act or the person comes with their act, and you layer it with music, and you work with people maybe in Montreal, but it's not necessarily one person doing all the work.
Is it based out of Montreal?
Founded in Montreal, based in Montreal. They sold for like $1 billion something recently too.
Yeah.
I forget who bought. Jay, you gotta look this up. I think I remember recently seeing that they sold.
Daniel Lamar.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
And they sold to a company that's like European maybe, or Chinese? Cirque du Soleil like sells whatever. Anyways, they sold. Yeah. Anyways, it was founded in.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Gila Liberté.
That's it.
Owned it and created it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. And honestly, anyone who hasn't been, I mean, obviously can't go now.
Yeah.
But when it comes back, like it's
So you said you watched O.
I've seen 2 now. I saw O and I saw another one in Vegas. I actually went to one. I was there on a work trip. I went by myself. So I saw O with like my sister, brother, when we were down there. And then I was back for a work conference, and I was like, I think I had this like whatever deal that I got because I was staying there.
It's called Fosun Capital Group.
Fosun?
I didn't even know.
Chinese company, yeah. Yeah. And they sold for like $1 billion?
Well, they took 20% stake, and then a San Francisco-based private equity firm owns the majority.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Surprise.
They
Never seen
did
the
sell
news.
for 1.6 billion like a couple years ago.
That's the number. I remember seeing it. I was like, that's
billion.
wild.
Either
Imagine
that-
thinking about that. Like the circus back in the day
Yeah.
was like a traveling circus, like
Yeah.
a mockery.
It was street performers.
Yeah. And then a guy took it, revolutionized it, and made it like an art form,
Yeah.
essentially, and became a billionaire as a result of it.
So you've seen 2.
Sorry, seen 2. Yeah, I can't remember the second one, but
Prior to joining, how many had you seen? He's like 50.
0.
I've seen a lot.
Okay.
Salt and Banco was my first. I saw Kidam, Ka, O like 4 or 5 times. Mystera I've seen a couple times. I'm missing a bunch. I've probably seen 12 shows, I would say, and seen them multiple times.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're
I
a
was gonna-
Cirque vet.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that. Like, were you before you went and became part of it? Were you a fan of it before? Like, just really? And did you know you wanted to like kind of jump into that world at some point?
Yeah, I saw my first Cirque show I think when I was 13, and my whole career was kind of based around doing So You Think You Can Dance and Cirque Du Soleil. That's what I really trained for, and when I was 18 I did So You Think, and when I was 19 I did Cirque. So everything.
So you made it to your big leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty insane. It was really rewarding to like work for something your pretty much whole life that you know and achieve it so young, and everything since has just been like icing on the cake.
That's awesome. When you're taking that leap at like 15, 16 years old, you thought you were gonna do that, but then
Yeah.
once you do it, it's got to feel pretty good.
I would have never expected to achieve those so young. Like I wish I was older, because I think I would have appreciated things more. Not that I didn't. I absolutely did the whole time, but it's I look back on some of those memories. I'm like, oh, I wish I was doing that now. Like it'd be so different, because I'm just in such a different mindset.
It kind of, when you're young, things kind of just fly by. You're just so happy to be there.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like not being as like selective. You're just more to everything that comes out. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
let me do everything, and it just kind of goes.
Yeah.
Patrick Chan said about living in the villa.
The Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Patrick Chan, the Canadian figure skater, on recently, and he was talking about the same thing. He said like he talked about this story when he was competing in the Winter Olympics in Canada. It was his first Olympics, and he was super young, and he was like I guess it was like a super talent at that time. And he said it went by like this, and like it had to happen when he was older, he would have appreciated it more. But I guess that
absolutely.
naturally happens with everybody, right? You look back and you think like, had I known what I know now,
Yeah,
And it's so
exactly.
easy in hindsight, but still achieving that at that age has got to be, it's got to feel
that's
pretty
pretty
special.
insane.
I want to ask about travel. Obviously, you've traveled a lot of places. What are some of your favorite places you've traveled for work?
I've gotta say,
My voice is so raspy.
Why is it
right
for
now.
work either? Why can't it be anything?
I want to know for work specifically. None
Oh,
of
okay, fair.
outside of work.
I think for work, either New Zealand or Spain.
Why?
New Zealand, there's an island off of Auckland called Wahiki Island, and me and my partner got to be there for 2 weeks before I started my stint in Auckland, and it's one of the most magical places I've ever been, and it's so quiet. It's such a small island. It's like full of vineyards, and it's like a beach town. It's just, there was something about being there. I was like, I need to come back here frequently. I haven't been back since, but it just was so magical. And then Spain was just so much fun. Like we were in Valencia, Spain we were usually in a city for 2.5 months. And getting to
Is that
live,
how long like a typical show is?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And, living in Spain, like European culture, like I just love it. I love it so much. I've been to Italy for like 2 days, and I haven't been to Greece, and I know that those two are going to be my favorite. Hoping.
Don't get started on
When
Greece
you
here.
go,
we don't have enough time.
when you go to Greece, I'll give you any recommendations, and I'll connect with anybody you need to know.
Great.
That is, I'm fully Greek.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's unbiasedly the best place in the world.
Yeah.
For sure, I'm biased.
So sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, I really want to do both, and my best friend is Greek and Italian, and she just speaks so highly of all of that.
Yeah.
So I know that's where I wanna be.
Well, when you get
next.
out there, happy to send any recommendations you need.
Perfect.
Besides work, is there anywhere that you've been that stands out?
I mean, not really.
Well, Greeks
Well,
in
I guess,
Italy now.
I
that's
guess
it.
a lot
Yeah.
of your travel must be
Yeah.
with work, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, is like that's why I had asked why it has to be with work, because even though you're traveling for work, like you're almost getting to live like that time there. So you're like what, half work, half
Yeah.
tourist. I
The
guess
question should have been more: where's the best, like your best city that you love to perform in?
Okay.
And then where's the best place you like to go? Because
Okay.
if you think when sports and dancing
Just-
is a sport, you're the crowd, the energy. Like I know.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, I understand
right?
what you're saying.
So, for example, you ask maybe a basketball player where's the best place to play, they're gonna say, "Oh, Madison Square Garden." or
Right.
something.
True.
Right.
Whereas maybe New York.
So is there, I guess, somewhere more passionate about?
Yeah. So where do you like to perform? And then we had the answer on traveling.
Yeah. I mean, Spain's audience is very incredible.
Spain is just the goat. That's
Yeah.
it.
We would go. Our last show of the night sometimes would be at 9:30.
So you did multiple shows a night?
Sometimes, yeah. And so we'd get out at like 1 a.m. and then
It's boozy time.
yeah. And I mean, everyone's up. It's so crazy.
Couple
Like
Cottage Springs.
yeah,
You
it
don't
was.
drink Cottage Springs in Europe.
No, it's a plug, buddy. Get with it.
Take that back, Cottage Springs. We're bringing them to Greece.
There we go. But no, I honestly, I'm the same way. I love Spain.
Yeah,
Spain's my
it's
favorite
so
country in the
fun.
world. My favorite island is Ibiza. My favorite city is Barcelona.
Okay.
Like in the
Yeah,
world.
after Greece, I would say Spain is probably my second favorite. Tokyo, but Spain overall, they're very similar in the lifestyle. We've gone I've been by myself a few times. We've gone a few times.
How many times have you been to Spain?
8 or 9,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
more. I did so in 2018. I took a year off work and did like a sabbatical, and
Cool.
I traveled, backpacked around the world. And I spent the first part of my so I started in August and spent like August, September in Europe and just hopped around, and then went around the world. Came back in May and then basically lived out of Greece. We have
Wow.
a family place there, and then like weekends I would. No, I'm not biased. I'm not saying I actually would like. It was the best.
That's right.
Oh, so I would. I'd basically like I have friends and family that go to Greece in the summers, but that's again August. So I knew that from like May till August, I was by myself, could do whatever.
Right.
And I would just like go on Instagram, be like, all right, who's in Europe right now? And I see it's like May. Okay, friends are in Barcelona. All right, I'll meet you there. I'll drive to
Right.
Athens.
Oh, wow.
$60 flight to Barcelona for the
it's
weekend.
so easy once you're over there.
Yeah. And Spain honestly has it's so cool because there's so many different, like every city and every region is different.
Right.
I'm not sure how much have you done, but for me, Barcelona is one of my favorite cities in the world. But like the south too, like Granada, Valencia. School. We did Tomatia in Valencia.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
It's a big tomato fight in the middle of the street.
Oh, I
wild.
wasn't there when that
Yeah, it's
happened.
wild.
You take the biggest like tomato. It's in Bunol, Spain. They did the dump trucks of tomatoes.
Wow.
Disgusting. Like actually, it seems cool on TV. Do not.
It's a once in a lifetime
Anyone who's planning
Yeah.
on going, it is not worth it. You smell like absolute trash the entire day.
Yeah, and
you-
what
like-
they don't tell you too, and sorry to cut you off, Georgie,
No,
but
go.
they don't tell you it's an hour and a half bus ride from any major city to this
Yeah.
small little town
At like 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m. All the wine and all the beer you can buy is usually pretty warm. So you're drinking warm, like crappy boxed wine,
Yeah,
red
that
wine
doesn't
at
sound-
8 a.m. waiting for these, dump trucks or garbage buckets.
Dump trucks.
Yeah, dump trucks of tomatoes. And then it's just like dumb, but it's a free for all. Everyone's just grabbing tomatoes, whipping
You
them.
throw tomatoes at people.
It's just
The
nuts.
town
It's
is
mayhem.
the biggest thing
Wait,
about the
that
town.
sounds fun though.
It's,
like,
it's a
is.
once in a lifetime. I would never do it
Yeah.
again, but I'm glad I did it once.
yeah, wow.
Do it once, but like then so it ends at like the fight goes for like an hour. So from
fight.
like 11, the tomato fight goes from 11 to 12, and then the people of the town realize that you smell and stink, and they charge you to use their hoses.
And they just hose you down.
So then these people charge you like €5 to spray you down.
But then you still smell probably.
You smell
and
terrible.
there's
then you
tomatoes
wait
in
for-
places yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, fun experience. Spain is incredible. Besides that,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun experience. But I would never do it again. One time I would do it.
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Derek, this is part where we usually start to wrap things up. I know we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but what else is on the agenda for 2021, 2022?
Honestly, I mean, I just got a big audition today that I'm excited about.
Can you share or no?
No,
Okay,
it's
that's
just
fine.
a new film that's coming out, I think, next year. Another musical. That's actually really all I know. But I'm excited to like kind of just keep auditioning, keep working on projects as they come. It's difficult in this industry, like unless I have something booked to like necessarily say what's going to happen in the next year or two. But I have my program here, and hopefully our live events of my husband's company gets off the ground because of COVID. So just hoping for all of that, and just kind of getting back to real life.
Hopefully soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a desire to perform on like Broadway or anything?
That's like next.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the show I did in Vancouver, it was very musical based, and it's like of a golden era age of musical, and it was very Broadway heavy, and the choreographer has won a Tony on Broadway, and all the main cast that were in my group were all pretty much Broadway legends. It was the most insane experience, and that kind of sparked a different fire in me. So I plan on going to New York in the fall to start getting my feet in the door out there. I luckily do have quite a few great connections out there. That doesn't mean anything, but at least kind of getting in the right rooms and stuff. And then just, hopefully within the next year or two, audition as much as I can for Broadway and hope that happens.
So that's like phase 3 of the career, I guess. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, that's insane. Like 6 years younger than us, and then a phase like I'm very excited to see what the future has as well. So it seems
Thank
like you
you.
have like done a lot so far, and I'm sure you have quite a few doors left to open.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Love that. We've got 2 questions we always ask every guest. Do you know them or no?
No.
Okay, perfect.
90%, 99% of
You
guests
never
don't know.
right?
Them.
Someone who might know. Maybe someone told them. I don't know. The first question: if there was a movie about your life, who would you want to star as you? Could be anyone from any point in time.
I've actually been asked this before.
Really?
Yeah, but
Crazy. They're ripping off the pals' questions. God. Guess people do listen to the end.
Maybe they do.
I like Ryan Gosling, and he's Canadian.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
And
In
he
my
can
head, I was
dance.
just thinking that.
He can dance. Like, he grew up dancing.
He's just cool.
Have you seen
Yeah.
the videos of him as a kid? Dancing on like a Mickey Mouse Club and stuff?
Yeah.
La La Land, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just cool.
He's cool.
Yeah.
He's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
think
cool,
he'd be great.
dude.
I think he'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Last question. If you could give one piece, I forgot my question. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Start singing younger, and like keep your mind open to every opportunity that presents itself, and work your ass off. Not that I haven't, but just like always keep pushing and just always keep growing and learning, because you can always learn more.
Love that.
It's great advice.
Love that.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's a pleasure to chat, and we always say we want to chat with interesting people. And although I personally didn't know much about dance, I feel that I learned a lot, and same thing with our audience. I'm sure they will too. And
Yeah. First dancer.
you're literally our first
career
dancer.
dance.
Amazing.
I've had a lot of dancers in my life, just based off partners and people I've met, and George's sister and a lot of our friends. But I've never really sat down and I had a good conversation about it, other than the fact that I know the funny movements mean contemporary. Other than that, I knew nothing. So we appreciate you coming on, taking the time to sit down with us, and yeah,
Well, thanks for having me.
anytime. If people want to find more about you, what you're doing, all the amazing things, where should they go? How can they find you?
Every handle is pretty much the same. Derek Piquette. Keep it simple and easy. DEREK PIQUETTE.
Love it.
Simple.
We'll make sure we put it in the comments. But yeah, thanks for coming on. And until next time, if you made it to the end, don't forget to subscribe, give Derek a follow on Instagram, social media, and all that fun stuff. And that's it. Signing off, pals. Cheers.
See ya.